So let's talk about Trump's birthright citizenship executive order. I know I said some things last night, kind of initial thoughts. This is setting up a test case to go after the underlying precedent, things like Wong Kim Ark, and there's another case. There's only one or two cases that really address that specifically. So my initial thought is, oh, this is setting up a test case to get it in front of the Supreme Court. And I still think that there's a real possibility that they could go down that road and make that argument. I think this court would be open to, overturning precedent that they don't like. They've certainly done it in the past. But there is another sticking point. There's something, since then I've had the time to kind of turn it over in my head and chew on it. And one of the questions is, why not make it retroactive? Why does it only take effect 30 days from today? You're not stripping anybody of citizenship. You're saying starting 30 days from now, this goes into effect. Why is that? And then I started thinking, okay, that means he's not saying this never applied. He's saying it doesn't apply now, and it doesn't apply in this circumstance. Here's the deal. There is a very clear argument that Trump could make that would probably withstand judicial scrutiny. Trump has declared a national emergency and said that the invasion, that illegal immigration represents an invasion, right? And in his declaration there, he cites his executive authority to recognize and call an invasion for what it is. Some would even argue it's a responsibility or a duty under the Constitution. Nobody questions that. Nobody questions, can the president respond to what he perceives as an invasion? You can disagree about what constitutes an invasion. You could say, well, this doesn't really rise to the level of what we would consider an invasion. That's a political argument. That's not an argument about executive authority. If Trump or any president has the authority to say this is an invasion, this represents an occupying force, this represents an existential threat to the country as an invasion, these people are essentially occupiers, you just created an exception to the jurisdiction requirement of the 14th Amendment. Because there's two exceptions. Everybody forgets there's two exceptions. It's not just one. So anybody born on U.S. soil and subject to the jurisdiction thereof has birthright citizenship. The two exceptions to the jurisdiction requirement are foreign dignitaries who are on official state business, heads of state that are visiting, ambassadors, diplomats, people like that. And the other one is an occupying force. We always forget about that requirement. We always forget about that one because we haven't dealt with an occupying force since 1812. So we don't really worry about that. We don't really consider that. So the argument is, if Trump has the executive authority, the constitutional authority to say, hey, this is an invasion, this is an existential threat to the country, these people are invading, this is an occupying force, then certainly he has the authority to say, now that I've recognized this as an occupying force, they don't qualify for these privileges. And I'm sorry, but that's going to be a pretty compelling argument for most judges. Now, again, you could disagree politically but this isn't an occupying force. These are asylum seekers. All he's got to do is, well, I'm the president. I have the authority to make that determination. That's part of my executive power, is I get to decide what that means. I get to decide what applies where like that. That's a matter of executive policy. It's not defined in law anywhere. It's my job as president to make that determination, and I'm making that determination, and I'm exercising my authority to deal with what I perceive as an existential threat. And you're going to have a real hard time convincing even a good number of liberal judges that that's not the case. Because notice, he's not trying to repeal the 14th Amendment. He's not trying to say the citizenship clause doesn't apply. He's not even trying to say that the jurisdiction clause is flawed. He's simply saying, I am recognizing this as an invasion. And so now that I've recognized it as an invasion, this is an occupying force, and thus they are precluded from citizenship under the 14th Amendment. And it becomes an executive policy issue, not a constitutional one. He's playing within the guidelines of the Constitution. He's just doing it in a really fucked up way. But doing something really fucked up that we disagree with politically isn't necessarily unconstitutional or illegal. It would require Congress to step in and say, no, we're not going along with this. We disagree. We're passing legislation that says so. We're passing legislation to create those guidelines and to define those things so that you just can't do this on a whim. That's up to Congress to do. So I hate to say this, but there is a pretty good fucking chance that this executive order is going to stand.